we're back to the spooky woods. Down to one car, so I think my chances of surviving this car apocalypse probably better. So we're going to talk about Mouth by Joshua Hull, and specifically what Mouth does that I think more books should do, and something that you can take away from it as a writer, something that you can take away from it as a reader if you're kind of like filtering through your TBR what you might want to read. The thing that Mouth does is that it is short. And in a space where books keep getting longer and longer and longer, a short book that is done well is truly something magnificent. When you submit a book to a publisher, often they have a required word limit, right? A lot of places won't look at a novella unless it is at like 50,000 words. That's their cutoff. Some places it's 40. It depends on the, depends on the publisher. But for a lot of folks, 40K, 50K is the limit. 40K, 50K, that's about 300 pages. And some books, straight up, do not need to be that long. Mouth does absolutely what it needs to do. It plays out all of the story beats. It does everything that it needs. It gets in, it gets out, it's done. And it certainly does not need another 100 pages added to that story and another 100 pages added to that story. I don't think it would make any kind of positive change on the text that's actually there. So, what is Mouth? Mouth is a short little book. This is spoiler free also, until I say otherwise, but Mouth is a short little book. It's 100 pages, 103, I think, exactly, if you want to be precise about it. And the plot of it, big hole in the ground, it eats people. Okay, this is not a spoiler. It's on the front cover. You see the hole. It's called Mouth. Big surprise. It's very inspired by B-movies and B-movie direction and New World Pictures, all of those kind of like bad horror movies that I personally adore. If you are a bad movie watcher, a certified Troll 2 fan like I am, you know that often B-movies and movies of the New World Picture variety can be kind of light on the plot. They're really more fun concepts, an excuse to do fun things. And Mouth does that in a very good way too. It's about a hole in the ground. You get to the hole in the ground. There's enough structure and plot and characters around that hole to, make you care, but it's not bogged down with extraneous details. Mouth is absolutely not a 500-page epic detailing the life of all of the characters and all of the peoples they touch. And Mouth is absolutely not a think about it for the rest of your life kind of book, except for the fact that it does what it does so well. I doubt anybody was kept up at night finishing Mouth and, crying when it was over because they were so in love with it. But Mouth is fun. Mouth is a good book. And while I don't think any book is a perfect book, something can be perfect for you certainly, but I don't think there's one that exists that's like the platonic ideal of a book. Mouth does what it sets out to do perfectly. So we're going to go over a synopsis of the book just really quick here. In a minute, you're safe for now, but I wanted to briefly talk about why that arbitrary word count hurts books. If you have read a Stephen King book before, you know exactly what I'm talking about when a book can get so bogged down in detail and extra stuff that you kind of lose the plot and you lose the momentum. That's it. Stephen King kind of does it to himself. He includes all that stuff because he wants to include it, and nobody's going to tell him no because he's Stephen King. And to be fair, I don't know that I would tell him no either. This is going to be perhaps a controversial take, but I think books should be shorter in general, and I think it's a whole lot more impressive to do the thing in 100 pages than it is to do it in 500. If you have that much space in your book to get to know characters and, lay their whole lives out, of course you're going to care about them. Of course you're going to be impacted by them. You're with them for 5 business days in universe. You get attached. People get attached to like a weird stick in their yard, and then the stick goes missing and everyone's like, oh no, the stick. You are around something long enough, it means something because you've been around it for a while. To do something well and to do it fast, it's a very different skill, and it's one that I think is slowly kind of dying away. And especially with the fact that like magazines with published short stories are kind of going away, or they're going digital. People aren't really like having them printed and passed around in the way that they used to. They still absolutely exist, but they're not out there as, you know, much as they previously were. Little snappy fun stories, they're harder to find. If you've read Paperbacks from Hell by Grady Hendrix, if you've seen those kind of books, those kind of fun stories that are kind of short, they're not taking themselves seriously, they're not trying to be something more than what they are, they're kind of falling to the wayside. Everybody's trying to make the new franchise, everybody's trying to make the new big thing, and we're kind of losing some of that pulpy, gritty 60s B-movie energy that a lot of these really special books had. So very quickly, Mouth, kind of timeline of events. You've got a guy who was a B-movie director. He got kind of screwed over by his production company. Moves out to the middle of nowhere, running from everyone, finds this hole in the ground filled with teeth, very scary, starts feeding people to it, starts making snuff films, and when he's old and he knows that he's going to be dying, he entrusts all of his property, all of his money, everything to a homeless man that he finds named Rusty. And Rusty, his one thing that he tells Rusty is, you got to take care of the Mouth. You got to take care of Mouth. Mouth is the big hole in the ground full of teeth, who is personified in the book with these little kind of simplistic childlike chapters from Mouth's perspective about like crunching up yummy stuff, which is kind of cute and endearing in a weird way. Mouth befriends the store, one of the people who works at the pet store where he was getting all of the feeder mice, which, side note, in the book it calls them pinky mice, but then it talks about them being like 1 inch long and fuzzy. Those are not pinky mice. I'm sorry, I know snakes, vaguely, that's not a pinky mouse. A pinky mouse is much smaller and they're pink. Mouse rage aside, after befriending this clerk follows them back home. She discovers Mouth. They kind of discover all of this backstory about that original movie producer, and then she feeds local creepy pervert to the hole, and they kind of start this refresh, you know, moving forward, using the hole for good, using Mouth for good, kind of training Mouth to be nice. There's a kind of a very nice moment there where the clerk for the store is talking about the horrible things that happened to her in her life, and that, you know, she needs a fresh start. And Rusty talks about the fact that he messed up his life. He is his own monster. He doesn't need to feed anybody to Mouth, but she does, so they do. So after they feed Abigail, that's the clerk for the pet store's big bad, to Mouth, they have that moment of reconciliation. This is going to be the last one. We're going to move on from here better. And fun, short, sweet, to the point. It's very clear that Joshua Hall is a screenwriter. It has that B-movie feel. It has a lot of reference to movies. It has a lot of things that, as you read the book, if you're familiar with those kinds of movies, you see little things and you're like, oh, I know what you're doing there. And that comes across very well. But the thing is, a lesser writer could have very easily padded the book out by having all of these people that had to fall into, you know, the jaws of Mouth and be destroyed, some big kind of standoff with the cops. There could have been this, you know, painful play-by-play of Rusty's background, going through all of his misdeeds and everything, but the story didn't need that, because at its core, the story is about Mouth and what Mouth represents, and you don't need all of that fluff to do anything except add to a word count. And I am so glad that there wasn't that there was not this pressure on this book to make it so long and make it a full-length novel and make it this whole thing, and it just let it be what it is and what it does very, very well. Overall, I gave Mouth 4 stars, which I still think is very accurate, as much as I think it represents like the perfect ideal of one of these shorter books. It was not absolutely 100% my jam, and that's okay. That doesn't mean anything about the book. That's just me. That's a me thing. I'm fine with it. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, and I guarantee Joshua Hall is not. That said, I think it's something that you can definitely learn from if you want to know how to do a story. Get in, get out, get gone. and just have fun with it. Also, that said, if there's a publisher watching this for some reason, Y, A, B, give shorter things a chance, because especially in like today's, date and time, people have less and less time to sit down and read a book. So something that's good, short, and you can get in and get out, it has a really special place for a lot of people. And honestly, they're hard to come by, especially good ones. So give a short book a shot, read a short book, publish a short book, write a short book. Have fun with shorter books. As I finish reading things, I go and like write reviews and rate things on Fable. And then do these more kind of long form things. Really, these are just rants that I normally give to my coworkers that I'm kind of porting over to the internet. But if you want to see stuff that I do, like right as I do it, right as I finish it, you can go and follow me on Fable. But you don't have to. It's okay. I have no idea what my next video is going to be about. So I have nothing to promo here. And I will not make promises to you. I don't owe you anything. Bye. And specifically what mouth? Oh, a bug. I'm wounded now. It bit me. God, I wish I knew what it was.